Last week we heard Jesus say, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill." And then this week, as he continues the Sermon on the Mount, he explains to us exactly what he meant by that statement. 4 times he uses the pattern, "You have heard that it was said, but I say to you." The 4 moral issues that he addresses are murder, adultery, divorce, and swearing falsely. On each of these issues, he doesn't abolish the law. He fulfills it. He expands it. Now, following the law is a good start, but by itself, it's never going to be enough. We can follow the law and not murder anyone, but still keep our internal rage and kill relationships. We can keep the commandment of not committing adultery, but still objectify others in our minds instead of honoring our marriages. We can never be divorced, but still keep ourselves very distant from our spouse. We might never swear falsely, but still allow our words to speak half-truths. The law is a good start. We need those artificial fences. But by itself, it's never going to be enough. To follow the fulfillment of the law that Jesus spoke about requires an inward transformation. So how does this inward process begin? The example I like to use is from that quirky movie As Good as It Gets, starring Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. If you don't remember the movie, Jack Nicholson is a writer, a rather successful writer, but he is OCD. He has obsessive-compulsive disorder. He can't step on cracks, and he's very, very bizarre in many ways. Helen Hunt is the waitress who serves him dinner most nights at this restaurant. Well, they end up having this strange kind of relationship. And at one point, she is shouting at him in the restaurant, "Why are you always so negative about everything and everybody? Can't you say something nice to anyone about anything? Can you pay me one compliment? Just one little compliment." And so he gets this very pained look on his face, as only Jack Nicholson can look pained. And he pauses and he finally bursts out, "You make me want to be a better man." Now that is a good compliment. You make me want to be a better man. And that's how we begin. Something or someone drives us to see that we can do more than just follow the law. We can fulfill the law. We can inwardly digest the law. We can strive to be a better person. Another way to talk about this would be to mention my old driving habits. When I was quite young, I had a lead foot, which led to many, many speeding tickets. Eventually, I learned to drive the speed limit because I did not want to lose my license. So I abided by the law because I didn't want to lose my license. I thought that speed limits were silly. My car can go faster, I should be able to go faster. I guess I should have lived in Germany or something. Or Montana. No speed limits in Montana either. Anyway, later on in life, I had children. And suddenly I realized that I was slowing down in the children's zones near the school to 25, not because I didn't want to get a ticket, but because I was afraid of a child running out between 2 parked cars into the road and that I would hit them. You see the difference? I was abiding the law both times. But later on, it was the reason behind the law. I had inwardly digested the idea of why that law existed. We must transform our thinking, our inner selves, and follow the spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law. Now, the law is where we begin. But becoming faithful witnesses of the love of God made known through us through Jesus Christ is going to be an ongoing transformation. And it's a transformation that's never probably going to end in this lifetime. At least that's been my experience. I still recall the moment my own transformation began. I was 18 years and 2 weeks old, and I was in the county jail. I wasn't very surprised to be in the county jail. Growing up, I had been told over and over again that I was a bad kid, and I became a bad kid. After a couple of terms in reform school, I had now graduated from being a bad kid to being a bad man and put in the county jail. Almost everyone I knew was in prison or headed for prison. Some of them were in hospitals. Some of them were dead. And it just seemed to be our fate. That's the kind of people we were. That is the hand that we had been dealt. And it just seemed to be our life. I expected nothing more. So I was didn't mind being in jail too much. At least I got 3 meals and a bed. But this one day, something funny happened. It was a really minor thing, but it led to a major transformation. This ray of sunlight was shining through the window, and it was striking me on the arm. And I was reflecting on how good it felt, because the jail cell was chilly, how good it felt to have this sunlight on my arm. And what dawned on me was that if I was able to identify something external as being good, there had to be something internal that was good in me. Now, I know philosophically that idea doesn't really work because there's different definitions of the term good. But for me, it was enough. It was enough for me to at least entertain the idea that maybe all those people who had told me I was a bad kid and the people who were now telling me I was a bad man were wrong. Maybe I didn't have to face the fate that it looked like I was going to face by simply deciding to, instead of being a bad man, to act like a good man. It could be that simple. So when I got out of jail, I enlisted in the Navy, and the Navy ended up being perfect. I didn't have to lean too much on my newly discovered goodness within myself, because the Navy had rules upon rules upon rules about everything. In the Navy, there was the right way, the wrong way, and the Navy way, and you always did it the Navy way. There wasn't a lot of moral subjectivity. We didn't have to make a lot of moral decisions. I ended up being a plane captain of all things. One of the duties of a plane captain was to inspect aircraft and certify them safe for flight. You actually had to sign something certifying that it was safe to fly. And the problem with helicopters is if something does go wrong that you missed on your inspection, a helicopter can't pull over the side of the road. It crashes and burns and people die. So it was for an 18-year-old just coming out of county jail, this was a really heavy responsibility. And it allowed me to expand this idea of what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. After 4 years in the Navy, I was awarded a Good Conduct Medal. Imagine that. I was shocked. But that was only the beginning of the transformation. I had learned to play by the rules. I could follow the law. But inwardly, I was still a very angry and confused young man. By this time, I had children, and I wanted to be a good father. You could say, my kids made me want to be a better man. So I knew what I had to do. I had to start doing that internal work. So I returned to the faith of my early childhood. I became an active Christian again, with daily prayer and meditation, volunteering for outreach projects, study, and worshiping at the local Episcopal church. I wish I could say that my transformation is complete now, but it's not. It's an ongoing process. As I said, I think it takes a lifetime. But now, usually, when someone asks me why I'm a Christian, I get asked that online a lot, just so you know. They say, why are you a Christian? My honest answer is because God makes me want to be a better man. That's my honest answer. I know there's lots of beliefs and all of that, but I'm not sure, when push comes to shove, I'm not sure that's at the core of the reason that I've decided to be a follower of Jesus Christ. God makes me want to be a better man. That's my honest answer. So how do we make this transformation? L. Gregory Jones, in an essay entitled "The Grace of Daily Obligation, Shaping Christian Life," speaks of how this transformation happens through the daily and disciplined practice of Christian obligations. Here's what he writes. Isn't it interesting that when we are talking about a ballet dancer, or if you prefer, a Michael Jordan on the basketball court, we describe them as being graceful, full of grace. Yet anybody who has ever undertaken the craft of ballet or piano or basketball knows how much work, day by day, goes into the cultivation of that gracefulness. In this sense, gracefulness is not simply a process of sitting back and waiting. Rather, through the activity of daily habits, people are prepared to move gracefully in a way that transcends the day-to-day preparation. It becomes so natural that the graceful performer doesn't have to think about it. The gracefulness develops over time so that eventually the steps come together in a powerfully new way, a performance. That happens only through daily obligation. Let us practice daily and disciplined Christian habits. And let us allow God to transform us that we might become people of grace.